Good morning, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Let me just jump back to this. Just get that on the screen for Stephen. Stephen's got to go. He's off to hospital. I hope everything's okay, Stephen, with your ongoing stuff that you've got going on with yourself. Anyway, down to the Celtic news. Before we talk about Let's talk about the game this weekend before we talk about the Champions League and this pair of players. And I love Ali Johnston. I love what he has done since he's seen Kieran Tierney in the flesh. And I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. I think it's one of the things that I wish Nico Kuhn had did when Jota came in last season. And I think a lot of people think the same. But anyway, the SPFL have announced who will be in charge of the whistle at this weekend. And yes, it's John Beaton. He'll be in charge for the game against Aberdeen this weekend. It's a 12:30 kick-off on Sunday. It's a 12:30 kick-off this Sunday. Away to Aberdeen, early morning rise. Early morning, up with the lark. I think it's time to get stopped just up past Forfar on the buses. You all know where the buses usually get stopped, and it's no difference, is it? It's just an ongoing thing. So make sure that you leave early enough, all you bus conveners that watch the channel. Andrew Dallas will be in VAR. Oh, Jesus. It's just not going to get any better, is it? It is what it is with Scottish football. So Andrew Dallas is in VAR, and John Beaton is the referee for the game. That's all we need to know. It's as simple as that. Celtic took the decision not to postpone the game in the SPFL, and I think they're right. Let's do a little poll. Here's a quick poll for us this morning. Do you think that Celtic should have postponed the game against Livingston? They had the choice under new SPFL rules. They had the choice under the rules to postpone the game against Livingston to allow us to participate. And listen, if it's the long flight, they might regret it. But you're thinking maybe Slovan Bratislava will get through. That game kicks off tonight, 4 o'clock Celtic part-time, but we'll be doing, I might be watching that game live, we'll wait and see. But I'm going to tell you why I think that Celtic have made the right idea. Points on the board at this time of the season makes some difference. And it gets the momentum building. They spoke about that. I think it was Alistair Johnson spoke about it last week for the first game of the season. He spoke about it's all about momentum. It's all about winning every game. And that momentum helps you at the end of the season. Because if we postpone the game, the Livingston game, and if that game is then got to be, it's where does it fit it in? If you get into the Champions League, you've then got games every week. So you've got to try and find a space to fit it in. And it's difficult. It's very difficult at this time of year, especially when you're playing 3 days a week. And then it comes down to, does it get played during an international break? Because that's the only option you've got. And then you're going to bemoan the fact that, well, you shouldn't have postponed that game because the international break in September is the only time that we've got to play the game. And are we going to play it when there's a lot of players away on international duty? Are we? Heck. And Brendan Rodgers would have thought about that and thought, no, we play the game. It is what it is. We get on with it. We win the game. We get the points on the board. And we succeed in every game that we're playing in this start of August. And I think that's... they said if we postponed the Livingston game, it would be played midweek in September. Yeah, that's the international break, Michelle. That's the international break week. That's about the only time that you've got to play it. which is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. The last of the worst off now. Folk are worrying so much. I just not even got into the comments yet. So there's a quick poll. Do you think the Celtic should have postponed the game? 25% are saying yes. Crazy. Crazy. I mean, we've never really had to worry about it before. It is just a new rule that was brought in earlier this year. So it's interesting that 25% say yes, 75% say no. And Celtic did confirm that decision not to postpone the game. Now, when it comes to this guy, Alistair Johnston, he's a fantastic player in his own right. And he's spoken about the fact that when he heard Kieran Tierney was coming to the club, he says he's been blown away by the stature of Tierney. I thought he was a big tall man who lived in a caravan. Oh, don't start singing, Baz. It's too early in the morning. Oh, sorry, couldn't help that one. Having watched him play for Arsenal in Scotland, said the Canadian, he was a little taken back when he returned to Celtic, and he went, he's just a wee lad. I'm bigger than him, and I've got a few pounds on him. I could take him. But he said it's amazing when you see the stature of Kieran Tierney. He comes across on the pitch as a bigger player, and he produces at a level. He's got engine, he's got everything. Everything he does with power. He gets up and down the park, he takes on guys, and the way that he defends. When I saw him in person, says Alistair talk a lot of Johnson. He says, man, I'm actually bigger than him, and I've got a couple of kilos on him as well. I could take him. Says Ali. He says, there's no reason that I can't be like him as well. That's what you want, Alistair. That's what I want to hear you say. There's no way, I don't see why I shouldn't be playing like Kieran Tierney. He plays better and bigger than he actually is. And it's a good reminder to me that I need to up my game. Well played, Alistair Johnston. That's what I want to hear from Celtic players. I want to hear Celtic players when another player comes in. When another player comes in, I want Celtic players to go, do you know what? This guy's good, and there's no reason why I shouldn't be as good as him. There's absolutely no reason, do you know? And I think that last winter window, when Jota came in, everyone got a little bit excited because they thought, yeah, this is going to elevate Kuhn just that little bit more, because he's going to look on the other wing and go, this guy Jota's good, isn't he? But he didn't. He regressed. He went into his shell and went, he's better than me. But I think that I'm loving the fact that Alistair Johnston has went, you know what? I can be just as good as him, if not better. That's what you want at Celtic. That's what you want Celtic players to do. And that's what you want Celtic players to come out and say. Alistair Johnston also went, he said, look, he's unbelievably technical, talking about Tierney. He says, but you look what he does to his body and how he puts in and how he takes care of himself and how he trains. He's a madman of a trainer in terms that he gives everything. His ball striking quality will add a lot to Celtic. And what makes it even better, he's a Celtic man. He says, losing Greg Taylor, do you know, Greg Taylor was so well liked off and on the pitch by his teammates. But having Kieran come back, he's a talent beyond the belief as a football player, who's one of the good lads who gets the club. It's another thing that can't be downplayed, and how important it is to have people born and bred Celtic men. It's important. Kieran has the DNA of Celtic in him. He says it's great to have him here. He says having him back and the level that he can play at, he said, look, he says, Kieran joked, do you know, he says, it's Celtic. Of course he was going to come back. But anyway, there is a situation that's going on at Celtic, and who plays the inverted role. And they've been talking about it. And Kieran turned around and says to Ali, Do you want to do rock, paper and scissors? That's such a Kieran thing. Do you want to do rock, paper, scissors and see who plays the inverted role? Because I'm not fucking doing it. Neither one of them wants to play the inverted role. Is it time that Brendan Rodgers went old school? And went, do you know what? Let's just leave the inverted role. Let's bring another holding midfield player in to play the role, and just have your fullbacks bombing up the pitch. Do you know, like McNamara and Donnelly, they were sublime together. You know, last season, Alistair Johnston and Kuhn were sublime together. Let's go old school and just have the fullbacks overlapping the forward players and creating all sorts of mayhem up the pitch. That's the Celtic way. That's the Celtic model. Do you know, that's the way that Celtic have always played. And I think that Brendan Rodgers needs to retweak things rather than saying, well, one of you is going to have to play the inverted role. But it's good that they can have the hilarity side of it and go down the route of saying, let's play rock, paper, scissors, just see who wins. You ever done that for paying the bill? I've done that. We've done that. I've done that a few times. You do it with the missus. Folk in restaurants just laugh. You get them coming down with the bill when you do rock, paper, scissors. Comes out the same bank account. Doesn't even matter. That's just hilarity. Anyway, Kieran joked it'll be rock, paper, scissors. We'll need to figure it out. In fact, that we both play more traditional fullback roles. I think that it's all leading to a change of formation by Celtic, and I still think that Dyson Idah will be the main striker for Celtic in the coming weeks and months. I think that Dyson Idah is going to be our main point of attack through the middle. Yes, I still believe that Celtic will bring in two wingers in this window. They are going to bring in two wingers in this window, which will allow Dyson Idah to go into that forward position. And we'll wait and see. Celtic do have only 8 days left after today to get players in for the Champions League qualifier game. Will Celtic do it? Will Celtic bring in players for the Champions League game? Or will they wait until we've qualified? Now, Brendan Rodgers seems a bit more relaxed and doesn't really want to talk about transfers, and I think that he's quite right to just bat questions away. Has he done that because he knows players are on the verge of coming into the club before the deadline, or has he just had enough and went, fuck off, don't want to talk about it, I'm sick of it? I think that it could be the fact that he maybe knows that I'm just reading a comment there. Hopefully KT and Dyson up the pitch. I could see on Sunday that he wasn't happy with the back passes. Who wasn't? Kieran Tierney wasn't happy with the back passes, or Dyson. Dyson's never happy with a back pass. He just wants to go forward. And I think that it's the way that Celtic play. I think that bringing in and playing Benji in the holding midfield role will allow these two players to play at their best, and that's bombing up and down the pitch. I think it's the way forward for Celtic. Do you know, having the two holding midfield players, having midfield players in front of those players, and then the striker up front. Whatever formation we end up playing, I'm sure that Brendan Rodgers will find a way to get the best out of them. Anyway, when it comes to speculation this morning, there's not really any new name, but there's one or two new names, but I'm not even going to talk about it because let's just wait until the medical is booked. Although the medical was booked last week and Celtic managed to drag it out till yesterday before they announced the player. Bobby says he knows there's no point, Baz. Yeah, does he know there's no point, or is it the case of what do you think the team will be against the Sheep? I think it'll be the strongest team possible. I think you'll see players coming back into it to start to get a bit of game time. I think Up front, we will start with Idah, unfortunately, because I think that he's holding off with Yamada because he's unsure whether he's going to use Yamada as a winger or as the main striker. If he doesn't get a main striker, if he doesn't get two wingers in, I think that he's going to swap Yamada and Dyson. I've just got a funny feeling. I don't know. But when it comes to the team, Brendan Rodgers needs to think about the games that are up and coming. Now, Aberdeen away is always a fantastic game, and it's always a hard game. When you look at the meaty tackles that were going in the Aberdeen Hearts game, they'll be up for a fight. They know that they're rock bottom. You know, they're on -3 already. You know, they're on 0, but everyone else is 3 above them, points wise. There's quite a few teams. When you go to Aberdeen, it's always a tasty game. So you're going to put your taller players on, and that's why Brendan Rodgers wanted a big holding midfield player. Remember the big French guy that we were linked with earlier on in the window, which doesn't look like it's going to happen now, because of the physicality side of it. That's what I think. The new guy, Jama, he might start because he's got a little bit of physicality. He likes to dominate. Everything that's coming out of Manchester about him says that he's no shrinking violet. I think you might see him get some game time that game, and it's all about Brendan Rodgers over the next month until, well, the next 2 games. The Aberdeen game, you'll see a strong team out the first half, with a lot of substitutes the second half. The Falkirk game at Celtic Park, it's a free-for-all, that one. I think Brendan Rodgers will make sweeping changes because he's got one eye on the Champions League game. And it's all about rotating players. There's not going to be a settled squad this month. There's not going to be a settled team. There's not going to be a first team 11, a guaranteed pick. It's not the way that Brendan Rodgers will use the players, and it's quite right so, because we need to win every single game. Do you think that Idah is not good enough for Celtic? I think that he's a player that was always brought in as a number 2. Always brought in as a number 2 striker. He was never brought in. People need to lay off Adam. He was never brought in as a number 1 striker. He wasn't brought in to replace Kyogo. He was brought in to add something, a change to the dimension of the way that the team performs. When you've got big 6'4" defenders and you're playing 6 at the back, you need a big guy in there. You need a big target man. Now, is he the target man? Is he good at holding the ball up? You could say yes and no to certain situations, but he needs Idah would play better if there was 2 and I said this last season. This isn't a reactionary thing to the way that he's started this season. I said last season that you get the best out of Idah if he's playing beside Kyogo. The way that Sutton got the way that Henrik Larsson got the best out of Sutton. Do you know, Sutton, his form was woeful until he came to Celtic and he played up front with John Hartson and Henrik Larsson. And I think playing 2 strikers up front, you would get the best out of Idah. You know, he's never a number 1 striker. You have someone that's prolific with him. You know, if he's not number 1 striker, he shouldn't be playing as a number 1. Chilpil, we all know the situation at Celtic, and we haven't replaced Kyogo until Shin Yamada starts getting game time, and he's a. Do you go? Here's the scenario that the manager has is: do you start playing an untested striker in the SPFL right from the start, Shin Yamada, and he doesn't score goals? Everybody goes, he's fucking shite, he's shite. You've got fucking a 20 goal. You've got a 20 goal striker sitting on the bench. Why is he on the bench? And that puts more pressure on Idah and Brendan Rodgers. So Brendan Rodgers is never going to do that. You're going to play with the player that produced for you last season. Do you know, I mean, all the FIFA football managers in the world can say, oh, well, I would do this and I would do that, I would do that. I'll put my trust in Brendan Rodgers because he's the man that's been there and done it for the last 20 odd years as a manager. It's where we can just sit on the sidelines and say, do you know what? For me, Adam Idah's not a number one striker, but I understand why he's getting played as the main striker. And it's nothing to do with the cost. It's nothing to do with the cost. Idah's a sausage. No first touch, can't pass, and can't head the ball. 9 million for a third choice striker. He's only 23 though. You've contradicted yourself there, mate. You've contradicted yourself. He's a sausage, you can't pass, but he's only 23, he might get better. Adam Idah scored some important goals. He deserves time. It's only last season was his first full season at Celtic. When he came on loan, let's look at look at the timescale of Adam, right? If he gets the ball into the box as much as what Kyogo did in front of him to his feet last season, he still managed to score 20 goals off the back of it. Adam Idah this season, right now, as we start the season, doesn't have the quality of Kuhn putting balls in. You've got Dyson Maeda trying to do stuff himself, and the cohesion with the team isn't there. It's not there at all. We need to buy 2 wingers and a striker. Yeah, I've said that for weeks now. Does Brendan Rodgers feel under pressure when he knows he's leaving? Not at all. I think that he'll still, as much as you want him to feel the pressure, Paul, I think that he'll still go out and give 100%. Kieran Tierney said that. I think Kieran Tierney knows the situation better than anybody, and Kieran would have had a conversation with the manager, and Callum McGregor will know the situation as well. Do you know, you could say that they're probably the closest people to the manager in the squad. They will know whether or not he's going to be here next year, but they'll also know that the manager will put in 100%. Baz, you don't pay 9 million for a number 2 striker. Yeah, you do. There's teams that pay 20, 30, 40 million for a number 2 striker. Do you know, it's only Celtic that don't. That's a mindset thing that you need to get out of your head. Why not? If we've got a team of £25 million players, say we didn't sell all the players we did, Matt O'Reilly, we brought Jota back, price tag has nothing to do with it. Do you know, I said that if Celtic were to keep going down the route that they were going, they could have, every player would have a valuation between 10 and 20 million within 2 seasons. But they're not going to. They're going to regress. They're going to go backwards. When you've got, you look at Man City, you look at any big team in Europe, they've got a £10 million striker as backup striker. Do you know, so saying that we don't have a £9 million striker as backup is ludicrous. If that was the case, Kyogo should have been on the bench then, because Kyogo wasn't brought in as for a £10 million. Do you know? We should be playing 2 strikers in the Premiership. Yes, Jim, we should be. I'm all for playing 2 strikers. Odson Edward, yep. Arabida would be cautionary. Him and Forrest always come on and change the impact of the game. They start their minutes. Exactly, they're impact players, Michelle. Celtic will never buy a 40 mile striker. It's all about perspective, isn't it? And it's that perspective is the reason why Ange Postecoglou decided to move on, because I don't think that he's got Puzzi on his shirt. He's got Jama on his shirt, and anyway, it would be Simpson Puzzi. That's what he had on his shirt down in Manchester. At least James has an excuse. He's 34, but he's an impact player. And that's why we bought Adam Idah. Idah couldn't lace Eddie's boots. We need to stop the Adam Idah hate. Honestly, he's the hate figure this season. I get it. There's always one player every season at Celtic. Last season it was Stephen Welsh. Stephen Welsh was the hate, the one player that everyone had to hate last season. At the beginning of the season, it was Stephen Welsh, and I get it with the fan base. This season, it's Idah. There's always got to be one. There can't be a season where we just go, we'll just let's see how the players perform. It's like, nah, he's shit. Made my mind up. He's passion. That's it. For the fan base. No one will get 2 million for winning the league. What about the Wycombe Wanderers 5 million? It all depends on else. Welsh is crap. There we go. There's the first one. Anyway, and with Celtic only having 8 days to go until the 14th, Celtic have to get any players in that they want for the Champions League game coming up. The fact that the game itself against whatever team we play is worth £40 million to Celtic, and a lot of fans are of the opinion, yes, we should get players in beforehand, but there is a little bit of the fan base of a belief that Celtic will wait until after the qualifying game to spend any decent money and bringing players in to then try and focus on improving us and just maintain the quality for the Champions League. Brendan Rodgers has said if it's all about just maintaining standards here at Celtic and maintaining the status quo, I am not for you. He will leave if it's just about maintaining standards, and if Celtic do not want to be better, if they don't want to be better. Baz Histop says Jamai SP on it. Does it? I don't know. I just thought it said Jamai. I've never really paid much attention, to be honest. Liverpool have been linked. No. I think that thinking about speculation is just speculation. Is going through a drought. Every striker goes through a drought, though. Anyway, that's enough of this nonsense this morning. It's been absolutely bonkers. I might be doing a live I am going to be doing a live, but I don't know if it's going to be on this channel or the Baz Does Euro Football channel, because I think we need to get that channel up and running. It's nothing to do with Celtic, so indirectly, so I think doing a watch along for that on this channel, you just get footage. No, Celtic. Anyway, that's me done and dusted for this morning. It's been absolutely fantastic having you all along as per normal. We did do a poll earlier on saying, do you think the Celtic should have postponed the game against Livingston? 77% say yes, 23% said no. Interesting. That so many people think we should have postponed the game. I don't personally think that we should have postponed the game. I think getting points on the board is going to be a lot better than having to play catch up in September when it comes up to a busy period. The last one of the day says, let me just see, where's that one? Baz, I think Desmond should be stepping in now. Stepping in to do what exactly? He can't step in to do anything. The only time he steps in is when he wants a certain manager in and he wants to talk someone into coming to the club. When it comes to players and staff issues, he's got a lot of minions that do that for him. I would see the point of waiting to see if we qualify if it didn't have money in the bank. More so the 70 million tucked away. Is it starting to get on the nerve of the fans that we do have such a hefty bank balance? I think it is. I think it's definitely starting to annoy the fans that we are sitting with such a big amount of cash in the bank. Anyway, it's not a small club mentality. Fans still having faith in Idah. And the return is piss poor. The return on investment is piss poor. 20 goals, piss poor from Anyway, that's enough of that nonsense. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world. Total split opinions today. Oof. Mental.